He's a three-time All-Pro, but he only played 9 games last season before tearing his Achilles, and he turns 30 later this month. Jenny, can Sherman still be a premier cornerback?
Absolutely, because he's made of the right stuff, Skip. This guy went to college as a wide receiver, turned himself into an elite-level corner. Now, I know, and everybody's like, well, he tore his Achilles. We have some history with this injury in cornerbacks. Brent Grimes, at the very same age, tore his Achilles and went to 3 straight Pro Bowls after returning. So there's no question in my mind that Richard Sherman, him being made up of what he's made of, will return to the level that we're used to seeing Richard Sherman play at. Last season, he had the second lowest yards per target of his career.
For the time he played.
Yeah.
It was to November 9th.
Yeah. So he played 9 games. And at that point in time, it was the second lowest yards per target of his career. And the thing is, Skip, is that I'm not surprised. You're not surprised. Most of us is not surprised by this. They tried to move Richard Sherman perfectly healthy last year. So we're not surprised that coming off an Achilles injury, about to turn 30, with $11 million, they can save $11 million. So I don't really think anyone is surprised by this move. But the question was, can he return to the level that we're used to seeing Richard Sherman? I have no doubt in my mind that he will, because of how he's built, how he's made. You don't get to where he got from, Compton. Go to Stanford as a wide receiver. Turn yourself into a defensive back. Graduate from Stanford. Become an elite level, Hall of Fame consideration-worthy cornerback, and not be made of the right stuff. I have no questions about Richard Sherman's ability to get back to the level that we're used to seeing.
I don't have any question about him being made of the right stuff, but what I don't know is if his Achilles tendon is made of the right stuff, because it's the one injury I cannot predict. Even ACL ruptures, tear up everything, MCL, ACL, I give that a little better chance than I give the Achilles. And I agree there have been big success stories. I can show you a whole lot of not success stories. It's mysterious. It's unpredictable. I don't know. I would bet probably 60-40 yes, that he could come back full speed. He wasn't the fastest guy to begin with. He's a long strider, but he plays more with strength and anticipation, you know?
They don't challenge him, though.
They do not challenge him. So he is about to turn 30 years of age. Does he thinks he's got 4 or 5 good years left. He well might. So when I heard yesterday, when it became clear to me, they just might flat out release Richard Sherman. Wow. He might just hit the open market, unrestricted, don't have to trade anything for him. Wow. What team jumped to the top of my mind?
Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys, because a man by the name of Chris Richard had coached Richard Sherman his whole career in Seattle, first as his defensive backs coach and then as his coordinator for the past 3 seasons. Chris Richard got fired at the end of last season, in which the Seattle Seahawks fell to 9-7, but they were injury-racked, as you know. But it seemed like the Seahawks were about ready to start into full rebuild mode, especially on defense. So Chris Richard is out. Ken Norton Jr. is in as the new coordinator in Seattle. They're going a whole new direction. And Chris Richard wound up in Dallas as sort of the I'm going to finesse this. He's kind of the co-defensive coordinator with Rod Marinelli. But Chris is over the passing game defense. So he's going to handle the defensive backs and how they strategize against the pass. So, wouldn't it be made to order that a Chris Richard, who's kind of a kindred spirit with Richard Sherman, because remember, Chris Richard, for those who don't know, grew up in Carson, California, which is next door to Compton, California, just south of where we are right now, west side of Los Angeles. So they had kindred spirit there. Chris Richard went to USC and was a pretty good cornerback for Pete Carroll, 3rd-round draft pick of Seattle, then wound up, played 4 years. And wound up coaching for Pete Carroll in Seattle. So he's been a Pete Carroll disciple from the start. And I don't know what Richard Sherman thinks of him, but it sounds like he liked him. It seemed like they got along very well. And I would guess that Chris Richard could, quote-unquote, handle a sometimes volatile Richard Sherman about as well as any coach in the National Football League. So I'm thinking, if he's right, if that Achilles, I don't know if you can you bring him in and check? You'd have to. You need to take a look at it.
Skip, when history looks back on the the Seattle Seahawks, it will say they started disassembling this team in 2018. This team was disassembled in Super Bowl 49.
Okay, but I'm talking about Chris Richard and the Cowboys.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just completely interrupted my train here. So did you just dismiss that? Can I finish on that?
You want every elite corner to go to the Cowboys.
I don't. I never want them to. I want them to know they can.
You want to get
This
Revis.
is a system. Rod Marinelli is a system guy, and they said no to Revis. Where they're weak at safety, but they have now drafted 3 corners that they really like. 3 young corners.
But here's the thing.
They got Jordan Lewis and Awuzie and Anthony Brown.
But you have to understand, are you going to let Richard Sherman play like he played in Seattle?
Chris Richard just took over the defense. He's got the passing game. So are you going to let him do with what he does?
That's the question.
Okay.
Okay,
and by the way,
what do you think Jerry's going to do?
By the way, remember, Richard Sherman is now representing Richard Sherman.
Yes.
He doesn't have an agent.
Okay.
And the reason they have fallen apart is he says, you owe me $11 million this coming year, Seattle. And Seattle is saying, take less. And nobody has reported how much less.
Right.
But I assume they're saying, we'll give you $6 million. I don't know what it is. Maybe half, maybe whatever. Okay. And he's saying, no, I know I'm worth $11 million. So I look at, speaking of Revis, what did the Patriots do in that pivotal 2014 season?
They maxed him out. They paid him like $13, $14 million.
12. They paid him $12 million, but he wasn't coming off the immediate injury. Right. He had ruptured his ACL 2 years before that. Then he went to Tampa and played all 16 games, and then he was free again. Right. And so Bill Belichick says, you know what? I'm going to take a plunge here, because that was a lot for Bill Belichick to pay $12 million.
Okay, but here's the thing. You like Chris Richard. Are the Cowboys, is Jerry going to let Chris Richard run his defense, which is a cover 1, cover 3 defense, or are they going to play the Tampa 2? So how are you going to use Richard Sherman? If you want to get Richard Sherman, are you going to let him play like Richard Sherman? Okay. If Richard can get back to 90% of Richard Sherman, he's better than these young corners they have. Yeah. He could take them up a level. But you fell in love. Richard Sherman was Richard Sherman playing a style. I agree. Are the Cowboys going to play that style? I don't know. So how much stock are they going to put in Chris Richard? I don't know. They gave him a big title now. That's a big, he's sort of the co-defensive coordinator. Well, don't you think if you need to know that, if you want Richard Sherman to come on board, Richard Sherman is not a Tampa 2 or cover 2 corner, Skip. Yeah, but he can play zone. They played a lot of zone. I saw a lot of zone. If you notice, when the Patriots are a big zone team, but when they got Revis and they had Browner, they locked them up. Yeah. Because that's what they do really well. Richard Sherman made all those all-pro teams and Pro Bowls as a single corner. Okay, but just remember this, and I once got into it with Richard Sherman about this very topic. He was backed up by, I think, the two best safeties in pro football at their height. Right. When the Legion of Boom was booming, they were the 2 best safeties. Right. So you had real backup, man. You're thinking, I know they can cover for him, Earl could cover a lot of ground. A lot of times they had Cam dropping down what they call robber coverage, or lurk coverage, and he was picking off crossing routes that comes across. My Cowboys have Jeff Heath and Byron Jones, and they're not those 2 guys. Skip, I agree. If you're going to let Richard Sherman be Richard Sherman, this could be a great pick for the Cowboys. But if you're not, and see, that's the mistake that people make. You like a guy, oh, this guy can really play, and then you get him and you don't let him do what he did where he was at. I agree. So my gut tells me they should probably do this, but I don't know how much Jared would want to pay Richard Sherman. Would he pay him $11 million? Because here's the thing that Richard Sherman said. Richard Sherman says, okay, y'all want me to take $6 million, but you want me to make the plays as if I was making $11 million. Correct. Right. So he says, okay, if you want me to make the plays like I'm making $11 million, pay me $11 million. Yeah. Now, do I agree with your flashpoint analogy that it all started to go south on that one final play of the Super? I do. Yes. I agree. So they needed to clear the decks of that, because all those defenders left. Now, Earl Thomas is still there, and I think they're going forward with him. But I think I think John Schneider and Pete Carroll finally decided, we just got to start over, because everybody lost heart for what we used to have. They just decided we screwed it up. And I believe they're going to build around Russell. I think they're going to construct this team differently than was before, because those were such strong personalities, Skip. And see, it was fine. Letting them speak out. These guys have their opinion. Okay, I got no problem with that. But then they started speaking out against the coach. And then they started speaking out against the quarterback. That's too much. In 2016,
Richard Sherman spoke out publicly against the coach twice. They had 2 big clashes.
Yeah.
Okay?
And he said it public. You know, Skip, we've seen players get into it with coaches on the sideline.
Yep.
We've seen it. We would have never known what the conversation was. Richard Sherman volunteered that information.
He did.
And then when he did, we were looking like, did you hear what he said, Skip? Because we talked about it for a couple of days. We knew that was the beginning of the end of Richard Sherman in that relationship in Seattle.
It was, and it is.
Yes.
It's over. They have started over.
I think the beginning of the end was his reaction when the interception
Oh,
happened.
he was on the sideline. He wanted to cry.
Yeah, the trust was broken.
Yeah,
that's really what it was.
Yeah.
Next
little
up,
Tommy Brady. He's like an 8-year-old on Christmas morning.
Stop. Yeah, that was a gift. They should have lost that one, so he could be easily what? 4 and 4.
5 rings.
4 and 4.
Yep.
what is your restaurant, sir?
Actually, it should be 3 and 5. Atlanta
5 rings.
25.
Next up, LSU running back Darius Geis said one NFL team asked him about his